Good day, strategy gamers, and welcome back to episode 15 of our Let's Play series, 1941 scenario playing as the Soviets. In this episode, we're going to be starting turn 7 and going through the first half of our ground movement phase. It was a pretty eventful end of turn last time, as usual, with a lot of tension in and around Smolensk, which I can't wait to cover with you guys. We brought in some reinforcements near Lake Ilmen to try to help with one of our defensive initiatives between Leningrad and Smolensk. And then we're gonna close out the episode leaving the southern front for episode 16. You'll note that I'm already on the ground movement phase. I already executed the air execution phase, as I really didn't have too much going on there. I took a look at our air army groups, and honestly, we had taken a beating those last couple of turns, especially in the northern half of the map as we ran all of those interdiction missions. So I kind of gave a lot of the bombers and, well, fighter bombers a rest this turn, but did still run some air superiority and some ground support. But we also have some bad weather in the northern half of the map where it's actually raining right now, so we're going to see if maybe next turn there's a better opportunity for some air action. Diving right into it, they actually made a bit of a push north towards Leningrad, but overall our defensive line did a pretty good job of holding. So if you look at it, they really only took these territories out of like the entire Peskov pocket. This is just about all they did. Was push us back in these areas. There were a few spots where we had already retreated and they just occupied the space, but that's not a problem. So let's just kind of go through and review left to right some of those battles, because a couple of them were a little interesting. Here we just had our motorized brigade, and I think it's this unit right here. And again, this flank is just trying to slow them down so they can't sweep in around behind us as this door pivots north-south to Leningrad. That's the purpose of this flank, really. Here we had the border guard detachment retreat. Again, not surprising at all. Here is actually where we started to have the first larger battles and where they started really throwing a lot at us. We had the 191st Rifle Division situated here, and they ended up attacking 4 different times to finally take it. So the first was pretty light with an infantry division. No major details. The next, they were almost, you could say, scouting us, but they lost 1 armor element. Then they attacked again with 17,000 men versus our 17,000. Not too much happening there. Actually, most of the action was happening in the air war, right, as ground support was happening. And then in the fourth, they just threw the whole barn at us. And we ended up losing 4,000 men, which was pretty significant, as well as 56 field guns. So that 4,000 men is quite a bit when we're talking about throwing 4,000 men into any of these hexes to try to defend and slow down the enemy. So that one hurt a little bit, but when you look at what they had in the area, they really did attack with a lot. Then they kept pressing the attack here, where we had the 183rd Rifle Division kind of sitting in the rear of the 191st. And the first attack we managed to hold. They lost 100 men, nothing too spectacular. The second was them bringing in this Totenkopf-SS motorized division, which is right here. And that was simply too much for our forces to contain. Further to the east, they attacked against our border guard unit, and they retreated. And again, that was just a bit of a buffer to give some of these infantry divisions more time to dig in. Right, so we didn't actually intend for that border guard detachment to hold out for too long, more so to try to slow down the enemy. And something similar here where we had the 265th Rifle Division. They're kind of sitting in advance of this line that is currently building up here. And the thing that kind of sucks about them, though, is they threw a lot of armor at these guys, and they ended up routing. Right, so we lost 10,000 men and most of the field emplacements that they had. So that was probably one of the most painful losses from the entire turn last turn was losing these 10,000 men in this one battle here. And then they continued attacking near Novgorod. However, we actually managed to kind of hold them, and they didn't advance at all, which is, I think, really good news for us, because we need to be able to hold this pivot point north of Lake Ilmen. They also didn't really advance south of Lake Ilmen either, which is going to give us enough time for our reinforcements to move up and to get entrenched in this good terrain for defensive positions. So really excited about how that turned out. So we'll close out of that and go back to our movement arm. So the other thing to note is that they are starting to actually move up towards Tallinn. So I'm not going to do anything too big this turn, but I am just going to keep retreating back this unit here. All 1,800 of them, a rifle regiment. And we're just going to have these two units kind of sitting here on the Narva River, because the objective is not to hold this line. They would end up being encircled anyways by these guys pushing north. It's just inevitable. So we just want to have minimal forces here to try to slow down any type of advance. By having these two guys here, it really prevents a panzer or motorized element from moving through without any penalty to movement points, or without having to lose any combat prep or endure any additional fatigue. But by being in our zone of control, crossing this terrain, etc., it'll be a little more meaningful for them to try to get across. And actually, looking at it, I think I might move that rifle regiment down here. Yes, I think that's what we'll do. Okay, good stuff. Over here, probably going to leave these exactly as they are. The question I have is on the 180th here. They are unready, 5,000 men. I feel like now might be the time to start pulling them back. I think I will. Question as to where. Here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take, if we have one, a rifle division here, and we do. So I'm going to take this rifle division, and I'm going to move them south out of the Leningrad defensive pocket to start. I want to find a spot that they can go in this north-south wall towards Leningrad and start kind of building up a defensive presence here. Let's have these guys go down here. They can start digging in there. And then I'm going to take this unit, this unready rifle division, and I'm going to swap them back to Leningrad, and then I'm going to set them on refit. And this HQ unit, I actually probably should just move this direction. You're probably going to stay out of range anyway, so we'll have you be right there. And back here we have another similar situation where they're just down to 8,000 men, and this is the 191st that actually ended up retreating. So let me find another rifle division that is in a good state up here. And then we're just going to swap them again. So I think the 285th is probably a good example of one that is in a good position to be swapped out. So let's move you. I don't know if I want to go down quite this far yet. I think I will, though. We'll have you start digging in there, and the 191st can come up here, and we'll set them to refit. Excellent. This motorized rifle unit, I'm actually just going to preemptively pull them back to here. This guy I'm going to leave to continue to project that zone of control. But this way, even if they get past here, there's not really a route for them to break through north without having to encounter some type of resistance, right? Because this entire western edge of the front is a combined, like, 10 defensive combat value, which if they wanted to focus on, they certainly could break through quite easily, which means it all comes down to how well are we positioning our forces. This Baltic Air Fleet Command, I'm just going to now move back. Its positioning really doesn't have too much of an impact regardless, but I'm just going to move them back. I still can't move any of these units. Trying to think if there's other moves that I want to make in and around Leningrad. Don't think so. I think we'll leave all of those guys where they're at. That mechanized division is kind of the one that's catching my eye, though. Wondering if I take the mechanized... It's still in refit, though, it looks like. Is it because there's something they need that we're just not even able to produce enough of right now? It probably is that. And it's probably things like amphibious tank and cavalry tank. The makeup of these elements were so interesting back in 1941, and they evolved so much. You look at this and you kind of go, it's just a bit of a mix of everything. But from a TOE perspective, I'm actually not seeing much that says, hey, these guys are severely, I don't know, ill fit for battle. They look fine, actually. A little light on flak, but everyone will be at this point in the war. Armored cars, I don't care too much about since we're not going to be on many offensive maneuvers. So I think I'm actually going to take them and have them come south to start digging in here. I think I'll bring them right here. Take them off refit. And set them as... Let's do reserve, actually. Kind of like that. Have them sitting there as reserve. It really did kind of identify that we're a little weak on this side, but I think we can address that in the next couple of turns still. Okay. This guy I want to pull back. Let's pull him back to here, I think. Don't know that there's any benefit to being here where he can be attacked by all 3 units as opposed to being here where they have to move. They either have to attack our security force, which will drain combat preparation points, or they will have to move into our zone of control, which will cost them quite a bit to then attack us. So I think that's the better play by moving them back here. Does leave that opening, but I don't know there's all that much I can do about it. Now that I look at it, I wonder, are they going to be able to get the 1st Panzer through there? I don't think they would. Maybe more so I'm worried about Totenkopf SS motorized. Could we maybe take the border guard unit and plop them right in between to try to deter that action? I think I'm going to leave it as is. Yep, we're going to leave this just as it is. And then all 3 of these guys, we're just going to, yeah, leave them right where they're at. They're in good positions. This guy, I feel like just pulling back preemptively. Maybe I'll bring him back here. Yeah, so he can now kind of help if they do try to advance there. Good stuff. Looking south near Novgorod, we've actually done a really good job holding this line, and I don't see too many changes that I would make here. These guys are on reserve, I bet. Yep. So are these. That's good. So the weakest point in the line is this 18. If they threw all of these units at them, they'd be able to break through. But that then means these guys aren't moving north. So I think this is probably going to be able to hold. He has to withdraw in 9 turns, though, but, I mean, 9 turns is more than how many turns we've already had in the entire game, so I'm not too worried about that timing. This HQ unit, this unit's from everywhere. Okay, so let's start moving up now our reinforcements. And I'm going to start probably with the cavalry units. So what I want to do is bring them up there. Let's take this guy. Oh, that doesn't add too much though, does it? It's only 4,000 men. Oh boy. We don't have enough movement points to get much further up there. It's going to be a bit of a 2-turn thing to do all of this. Which again, that's fine. So these guys are on their way. These are a lot weaker than I thought they were going to be. But again, in total, throwing 40,000 men at this problem will end up paying off. We got really kind of lucky, I think, that they didn't push through too much. And looking at it, I'm noticing that, as you would expect, right, and as did happen, it looks like their supply trains are starting to get a little stretched. Seeing a lot of units with some poor supply. Don't think these guys are going to be overly eager to start getting into these swamplands, because again, remember, we talked about this near Smolensk. So far, most of their advances have been on not pretty good, but they've been on hexes with moderate supply connections, right? Look at all of these red roads, look at all these rail lines all around Peskov that so far they've gone through. Now look at what awaits them to the east here. There's this road, I guess, and there's this dead-end road. But there's not even a single rail line in this entire pocket here, which is going to make their supply, and ours, honestly, a little bit more challenging. But as the defender, that plays more to our benefit. So we're okay with that. Looking down here to the south, I think I'm going to keep a lot of these kind of where they're at, because I'm not seeing anything that they're going to be able to use as a spearhead to break through past defensive values of 11, 10, 10, 11, even 9s here, right? So I actually feel like we're doing really quite well up here. And I don't have any changes to make. Now next turn we'll see how much they continue to advance, but I think I'm in some pretty good positions along here. And if I can wait another turn or two, it's only going to get better for us. Veliki Luki, right, something that I really would like to try to hold for a moderate amount of time because of its connections to Rzhev and how much easier it makes their logistics if they take it. They're starting to get a little surrounded, and I think what I'm going to have to do is take, for example, some of these tank divisions that are currently on refit in these rifle divisions and look at, hey, do I bring some of these over to help with Smolensk right now? Actually, do I need to take these off? Refit even. Well, they have no medium tanks, no heavy tanks. So effectively, it's a tank division with 30 light tanks and some cavalry tanks. That's not good. It is 10,000 men, though. This one's 10,000. So they have some heavy tanks, okay. So I think this guy I'm going to take off refit, and I'm going to bring him over here more towards Smolensk, I think. Will I? The terrain really doesn't suit him there, though. Maybe I'll leave him right where he is. Oh my gosh, we have all of these guys on refit, don't we? We are in such a porous state here. This rifle division I can take off refit. I'm going to set them to ready. I think I'll have them go. This is a tough call. Where do I want them to go? This is a bit of a weak point down here. So it is north too. Or if they get north with that unit, we don't have anything to stop them. That's only light woods though, so that's not that great. I think I'll bring them here. And that tank division still has a ways to go. I'm just going to have to hold out a little longer here. This rifle division I think we'll keep kind of in the front as that buffer, right? Because that always gives us likely another turn in our defensive wall by having that layer there. I don't know that I need these 2 rifle divisions here, and that probably happened because of availability of movement points as I tried to move things down towards Smolensk. And no surprise to anyone here, I need to keep moving stuff down towards Smolensk. So I think I'm going to take this guy, have him come here to add some depth. I also don't know that I need both of you here. So we're actually going to bring you to Smolensk proper because we definitely need reinforcements there. So that gets us up to 65. You are unready. You are on refit. Sorry, you're not a... You have to stay on refit, my goodness. This is so many of these guys I had on. Ah. I have to move the ready units down to Smolensk, I think. And then the unready ones, I just have to hope that I have another turn until they reach us. Don't have too many other options. So let's move you. Better to move you there? No. Better to move you there. There we go. Okay. I have 18 here. These are all mechanized and armored units sitting in light woods, my goodness. Can I take one of you? I'm thinking, do I move one of you down south here? I think I will. Let's have one of the tank divisions come south. Brings them up to 6. Then I'm going to take the other tank division back here. I'm going to set them on reserve. Yeah, okay, I think that works. Oh my goodness. Now, Smolensk, let's take a look at this, right? So, recaps of battles, and actually we'll start up here, right, because I missed this. They attacked 3 times here. The first we held, very minimal. Second we held, they lost another 300 men. Third was really just a scouting exercise. So nothing too significant here. They probed, they didn't get through, end of story, really, right? But Smolensk, this is where I was literally sweating, guys. This had me so nervous because I had hit in turn, and I think I was talking about how, you know, we're holding Smolensk longer than historically happened, so that's good. It's kind of proving out that our strategy is working, yada, yada, yada. I hit end turn, and then they look like they're moments away from breaking through to Smolensk. So let's see how it all played out. First, they kind of advanced up here into this tile leading to Smolensk, and they attacked 6 times. So the first was just a scout. Then they got to 625, lost 10 men, turned around and said, nope. 750 range, nope. Again, they held again with no losses on either side. But then, in the 6th attack, they threw everything at us. The 12th Panzer, the 19th Panzer, the 14th Motorized, and our 2 rifled divisions then at that time retreated, and we lost 3,600 men, 67 field guns. What was really good news for us, though, is they lost 16 armor. And I'm really going to be focusing on this as we go through some of these recaps, but all across the board, all variants, Panzer IIs, Panzer 38s, and Panzer IVs, they lost some, right? You say, okay, so they lost 16. whatever, out of 288 as a percentage, that's, what is that as a percent? Like 5%? I feel like my math is horribly wrong there, but I think it's 5%. So they took that hex, they moved up, and I said, okay, well, so they broke through the one buffer wall, but surely they still don't have enough to be able to break through to Smolensk. Then they attacked south of Smolensk, right into this hex, and they attacked 10 times. The first was a scout where they lost 82 men. Then they scouted again, and they lost 600 men and 6 armor. So that's now up to 22 armor that they had lost in their assault on Smolensk, and these were all Stug 3s. They then attacked a third time, and they lost another 9 armor. So now we're at 31 armor that they lost, and this was mostly Panzer 38s. Attacked again, only lost 25 men. Again, just a scouting operation. They scout it once more, they lost another Stug, so that brings us up to 32 armor. 7th time they scout it, nothing happened. Attacked again, losing another 4 armor, so we're at 36. I hope you're all enjoying this exercise as I do this cumulative count of armor lost, and upon reflection, I hope I don't lose track. They attacked a 9th time and lost 8 armor, which brings us to, I just joked about what number we're at. I think we were at 34, so that brings us to 42. Panzer 38s mostly. So they're at 42 armor lost, and on the 10th one they attack again, and it brings their total up to 52 armor lost. And please note, we didn't have any armor at all defending here. And they have lost 52 armor in these 2 movements, not even attacking Smolensk yet. This is just getting into position to attack Smolensk. They have lost 52 armor, right? And now you start looking at that as a percentage, and it's quite a bit higher out of 350, right? 52 armor lost, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, they've surely exhausted themselves enough. They won't be able to continue on towards their objective. I was wrong, and I kept sweating. They attacked again, losing 12 armor, 1,200 men. So that means they've lost 64 armor. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Panzer 38s again. But they're not going to have that many left if they keep this up. So 64 armor lost. They attack a second time, and they just... That's where we held the lines at Smolensk. The 237th Rifle Division, by itself, managed to finally break the wall that was advancing upon the city. And now we've gotten reinforcements in there, where we have over 100 defensive value now. And we're probably sitting in a much better position now thanks to it. But my goodness, so much strong. It's a total of 18 attacks and 64 armor lost. And that's why I wanted to count and add all those up with you guys, because across the 18 battles, when you're just seeing like, oh, they lost 6 armor, whatever, really it does add up quite measurably. And again, we didn't lose any. We lost a lot of men, we lost a lot of field guns, but we did not even lose any of our own armor, and they lost 64. Of course, that was not the limit of their advances. We'll start down here where they actually moved south to north on the flank of Smolensk. And right off the bat, they pushed through this rifle division easily enough. They continued their advance, where then that same rifle division ended up routing itself, and they were actually kind of isolated, if I remember correctly. So this makes sense. They're probably now routed over, no, not over here, right here probably. Lost 500 men, they lost 66. Wasn't great outcomes for us here. They moved north and towards Smolensk, and they attacked 6 times here. Losing 150 men, 300, 200, 80, 137. Guys, this just all adds up another 130, right? So they ended up taking the hex after 6 attacks. And then they ended up routing this rifle division where we lost 2,000 men. And that's where it gets a little painful for us. Over here, they pushed into this hex. And this was also part of the buildup as they advanced towards Smolensk. But the 20th Panzer ended up losing another 9 armor. So that's 73 armor around the advance towards Smolensk. They lost 73 armor and they didn't take their objective. That's half of a panzer division lost, and they didn't take the objective. They haven't even they have another, how many, what, 150, 200 miles to go to Moscow. And they've lost half a panzer division in this 1 week trying to get Smolensk. They kept attacking up here, and we actually managed to hold both attacks. Nothing too significant happening. Let's get back to the decisions we have to make. I want to see, this is kind of hidden by the Smolensk tag, but it looks like we've got about 12 defensive value here north of Smolensk. I think the combination of 12 here and 21 here, we're probably going to be okay. This is 28 though. And I'm wondering if it makes sense to take, yes, we have some tank divisions that are actually on refit status here. I'm wondering if it makes sense to take like 2 of these. And move them over here. Actually, let's do some cleanup behind the lines here. So you're on refit. You're on refit. Oh my gosh, we have so many units here that are just hurting. 7,000 men, you have 9,000 there, and you're on refit too. So what I now worry about is, how can we try to prevent them from just completely breaking through from the south here, our entire front line? So my thought process is, can I take one of these guys and move them over here? Because we've got a lot of men sitting here in these hexes. The problem is they really become a lot less impactful when we take them out of the fortification level 2. But I think I have to. Right, for no other reason of, okay, now we have an infantry division that isn't in a refit status. And I think I'm now going to take one of these tank divisions and also move them over. And then I'll take, I think, the weaker of the 2 rifle divisions over here. So now that puts them more at about 13.5 in this hex. This is just so insane, the number of units I have that are not ready for combat over here. 29th Army. This rifle, you don't need to be in refit. Get your butt to the front line. Do I maybe throw them here? That's tempting. Because one of the reasons that I might want to do that is them taking this hex actually is pretty important to them, as it will then allow them to attack from 4 hexes, right? Bringing their total number of elements that can attack Smolensk up to 12. So yeah, let's actually take you up here. No, I don't want to do that. Because they're just going to completely crush me there. I don't want to do that. I want to take you, it's in refit, and bring you back. And I'm going to bring you here, and I'm going to set you to reserve. In case they do break through this line right here. That was inefficient of me, of what I just did there. But now you, I'm going to move forward. Maybe I won't. Boy. That's all clear terrain. And I'm trying to play the terrain game here. And this is all clear. So I really think maybe I do just retreat from it a little. Let's bring you over here to the swamps. Here we have 25. Nice little stronghold for us. We'll leave that. This guy makes no sense to have you there, so we're just going to retreat you and set you to refit. You're at 3,400 men. You're going to do the exact same thing. set you to refit. These 2 HQ units. You're unready. My goodness. This is just awful. So we have 25, 12. Yeah, that's gonna have to kind of be the front line, I guess. We're actually looking much better as we look over here. I'm debating if I take one of these guys, like the one that's on refit, and actually withdraw them now to start building up the defensive line up here. Or even maybe right here. Yeah, 7 should be enough to slow them down here. And then we're going to take this HQ unit in particular and actually move them up here. This HQ unit. We've got units down here. Probably from this pocket that all collapsed. So we'll have to... I'll try to sort through that off camera. I'm going to move you over here. Okay. My goodness. This is getting a little crazy, guys. Getting a little crazy. Let's see. I think Smolensk, I'm going to leave it kind of where it's at right now. I really do have concerns about them breaking north through this entire area. That does worry me. So actually, I might even bring you even further up here. And then these 3 units that are all on refit, I'm thinking to actually just move you guys back. We'll leave one of the rifle divisions here. We'll bring you there. And the routed unit I'm going to move back here. Yeah, okay. Now I think I'm happy with the Smolensk pocket. I didn't spend too much time over here because they really have just not pressed this at all. And I've got so many units that are on refit, but I think they're going to have another turn to keep recovering themselves and digging in. Oh, I didn't even notice I have this guy down here. What the hell? Well then, what do I do with you? Do I have you come up here? So their general supplies are at 19%, which means they're going to start having men starving in the next week. But I think I'm going to bring them up here just to try to make these guys attack me instead of moving forward and attacking our front line. It's very sacrificial in this sense, but yeah. Okay. And I think I'm going to leave all of this kind of area that's between Aryol and Smolensk, like this whole pocket, for the next episode probably. And here, when we look at it, they actually did have a number of advancements, so I want to spend some time covering it. If you recall, a lot of this was actually all our territory previously, but we had kind of left it for the access because it's all clear terrain, it's not defensible, and now they've approached our defensive line. And I think there'll be quite a bit to cover here in the next episode. So, guys, as always, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the game. And, yeah, as always, strategy gamers, have yourselves an excellent day. Bye now.